Welcome to the Leader Impact Podcast. We are a community of leaders with a network in over 350 cities around the world, dedicated to optimizing our personal, professional, and spiritual lives to have impact. This show is where we have a chance to listen and engage with leaders who are living this out. We love talking with leaders, so if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions to make this show even better, please let us know. The best way to stay connected in Canada is through our newsletter at leaderimpact.ca or on social media at LeaderImpact. If you're listening from outside of Canada, check out our website at leaderimpact.com. I'm your host, Lisa Peters, and our guest today is Osazele Ebinda. As the managing principal at Acclaim Advisory Incorporated and the partner at Apogee Securities and Wealth Incorporated, Ozazele leverages her expertise in hedge funds, private equity, and corporate financial solutions to help her clients achieve their financial goals and optimize their business performance. Ozazele has a strong background in oil and gas, having served as the executive director at Saxby for years. She also holds a certificate in managing digital enterprises from North Carolina State and has completed advanced degrees and executive education programs at IESE and Lagos Business Schools. She is passionate about applying digital and financial innovations to drive business growth and sustainability in various sectors and markets. On a personal note, Ozazele has founded a nonprofit that helped women deal with pregnancy-related complications in West Africa. Over 4,000 women were helped by the organization during her involvement before rolling the project over to M1, an association of medical women in Nigeria. Welcome to the podcast, Ozazele. It is nice to finally meet you.
Same here, Lisa. Thank you for having me.
Oh, so we sort of have this little bit of a program that we go through, but I'm first going to comment on, I feel like when I read your background, like you have a very varied background from oil and gas to financial. So I want you to talk a little bit about your professional story and how you got there and any of those pivotal moments that along your journey got you to where you are.
Yeah, I know it's quite a quite a scope of stuff, right? Yeah, but so I began as an accountant. My first degree is in finance and accounting, and I went on and became a chartered accountant, right? So that pretty much makes one, you get spread across the industry, right? Especially when you work in an audit role as a financial auditor, you audit all kinds of companies, across the spectrum. So I went to business school and I found out that, wow, I didn't like accounting as much as I thought, right? Because finance was so much more, it gave you the opportunity to be looking forward into and designing the financial situation of corporations rather than looking back and checking what they did with what money came in and why they are not doing well, right? So, and that was so much more exciting. Well, when I got out of business school, I joined the captive private equity of an oil and gas group. So that's how I got into oil and gas. But I joined initially in a financial capacity, right? So I was building financial models and analyzing, acquisition projects and all of that in that space, So it just gave me the insight into the oil and gas industry, which happens to be the primary industry in my home country, Nigeria. So it was exciting then, but having that background in finance, hedge funds and investments were always like a compelling thing for me. So I guess it was inevitable that I would go into hedge funds and investments as well.
Yeah, it seems inevitable to you.
Okay.
I'm listening and I'm like, wow. Because I think sometimes we go to school, you get a degree, and sometimes you think, I am an accountant. Where was that point where you went, I'm going to go to business school? What were you thinking at the time to go, I want something else. I want more. I like, what was that?
Well, I guess I was young, and when you're young, you want to do things, right?
Yeah.
And it just wasn't sufficient to be an accountant staring into rows upon rows of ledgers, endlessly, right? And well, and business school just, would be, well, in the world I was in, it just was the next logical thing to do. When you get your professional certification as a CA, the next thing you do is, well, you got to go to the next level, right? Business school. And yeah, so that was it. And yeah, and at some point after business school, I went and I got the certification in managing digital enterprises from the North Carolina State University, and that further exposed to me that, oh my God, the world is changing, the world is going digital. And it began to further pull and push my attention into the application of digital solutions, across the processes that I was involved in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, did you ever have anyone in your corner? Was there someone in the back? Was there a parent? Was there a teacher, a professor? Was there someone that was like, "You can do more, Ozazele"? Or, I mean, it could have been you. But I'm just asking the question.
Oh, yeah. So my mom, I kind of think that my mom is a super achiever, and not because she has built some huge, gigantic business, but because, she's just, she would say, I'm first among six kids, and she would say, oh, the people who are doing so and so, did you notice that they have one head? They are not two-headed. You totally can do that too, right? She would prod gently and relentlessly. So my mom, at the time I was leaving the university with my bachelor's, my mother had only at that point a college degree, right? Just a step above a high school diploma, right? So she went and she got herself, I had graduated. She got herself a university degree. She got herself a master's degree. She went and got herself a PhD. She went and joined a faculty, in a university faculty, and began to publish and travel the world, you know, and sharing and teaching about African literature, And so she did all of these way after 50, and she's just been such a compelling example and a strong source of motivation, like just proving consistently that, well, there's nothing, it's never too late to pursue what's in your heart to get done. And yeah, that's the kind of background that, domestic background that I have, right? Now, in the course of my journey, of course, there's been times where there have been challenges like, how do you even begin to form, the when you begin to reach for bigger goals and
Mhm.
broader visions, capital tends to become a constraint, right? Especially when you are building businesses, because I have built and run different businesses at different points. So what is the capital formation process? How do you raise that capital, that you require to do, the things that you are reaching out to do? And yeah, well, I'll let you ask the questions and not just leap ahead and begin to delve into everything.
No, I'm just like, I'm like, just, but we really talk about surrounding ourselves with people. And I mean, from your mother to all the people we surround ourselves that are part of our success. So I appreciate you answering the questions. So our second question is about our best principle of success. I'm wondering if you have a best principle of success and a story that might illustrate this, that you could share with us.
Yeah. Well, for me, I find that what I have found to be the best principle of success for me is helping other people.
Mhm.
It's kind of funny, but every time I need to get, I'm thinking, well, I need to tap into another level. it's it's really the time for me to look around and find who I can help. Now, I particularly remember when the founding of the nonprofit, right, that focused on women, we call it Oops, I'm Pregnant then, right? And I did that just after I had a very negative experience, in the birth of my second daughter, right? 2 weeks after I had her, I suffered a late postpartum eclampsia, right? And it was by the grace of God that I survived, and lived, But in through that experience, I just found out, oh my God, there are lots of people uh, who go through all kinds of negative experiences in the course of bringing another life into the world, and I did not know, so going through that experience, I thought, I am going to do my little bit, to help as many women as I can in the sphere in which I was at that time to experience a change of story, regarding their pregnancy experiences. So I founded this nonprofit. I got together a team of 18 doctors, who agreed and allowed me to pay them stipends, and we would get, we would go out into villages, you know, with a mobile clinic and a store of medical supplies, and just go and sit in that village for days and just begin to help, you know, whoever wanted to see a doctor. We would work with some faith-based organizations, because faith-based organizations are very influential, back in Africa. So we'll work with them, say, listen, we need your women to come out. We need the men to come out. We want to help them with whatever. And in the course of doing that, across different places, we're able to reach and affect, over 4,000 women directly, that were having serious issues. We worked with hospitals and all. It was, it was very inspiring. But here is why I'm sharing this experience. Now, while I was doing all of this, myself and my family, my husband was very supportive in the course of all of this. We spent money, right? But here's what happened when I got out in a period of about 2 years. It was as though God was saying to me, your payday has come. You did this, I'm going to pay you. Because what happened then was someone, who, well, couple of doctors who'd been helpful in the process of gathering together the team of doctors that would volunteer. They were much older and more senior. They came to me. They were like, you know what? We just want to entrust you with a portfolio of real estate that we have. At that time, the valuation of the real estate was $5 million, and US dollars, and I was like, what would I do with it? They're like, we don't know. Maybe there's a business you want to start. Maybe there's something you want to do. We want you to know that we, we want to support you. You Let us know what you want to do. And that is how, I was able to start at that point. I didn't think, at that point, I just thanked them. I was like, oh, thank you so much. I'll look at that and all. But in the process of that, I was able to build a refined product trading company that shipped cargoes of refined products, diesel, AGO, across Africa to oil and gas sites, oil and gas fields, offshore and onshore, to support their energy requirements. So that's been just a funny experience. But I find that every time that I need to get into a new level or generate a new dimension of success, that the way to do it, very counterintuitive, but the way to do it is to find something, a cause that is totally desperately in need of someone, and I go be that someone, pour myself into it, and payday comes divinely.
Yeah. I think someone listening, I mean, I know myself, just hearing that story, someone is resonating with that and going, I can do this. If they're struggling and they help someone, help others first, and step out and oh, that was a great story, Sassy. That was great.
Well,
Thank you for
thank you.
sharing that. So, next question is just talking about our failures and mistakes, and I think we all know that we learn more from our failures and mistakes than our own successes. So, would you be able to share one of your greatest failures or mistakes and what you have learned from it?
Yeah, I agree, right? Our failures are really assets, you know. But I guess the challenge with failure is that if you're someone who really gives everything, failure can really be a terrible experience to go through, right? Well, I find that my greatest failure is not recognizing the moment. Sometimes I just don't recognize the moment, you know? Like, I mean, I just shared this story about the couple who came with that property, right, to me. Now, there was a time I was going to totally like say, no, this is uncalled for. Why would you do this? I was going to totally stop them, like, hey, what is this about? You know, however, I was patient enough and respectful enough of their gesture to just politely accept it, not knowing at all what I was going to do with it, right? Yeah. But I was polite and I accepted their gesture, in goodwill. And then I saw, oh, this is what this could be for, and every one of us benefited in the process of that. Now, I find continually that not being attentive in the moment, can be a source of failure, because every time, especially when you're in the presence of someone or something unusual is happening in your life, even if it's contrary to your expectation, just pause, you know, um, think about it. Don't react, as you normally would, because something unusual is happening, So pause, reflect, pray, meditate, whatever it is you do, and always respond with the first level being respectfully,
Mhm.
and it's in those situations that I have found when I didn't do that, that's when I have felt the most failure. When I did those, it's when I have felt, some of my most powerful moments as well.
Oh, um, that is such a great answer. The moment I was at a conference with a girlfriend of mine, and there was a keynote speaker, and he was a world class author, and she's texting, and we are in the presence of someone pretty awesome. We're at a conference, and I just leaned over and I put my arms around her and I said, "Don't miss the moment.
Wow.
That person on your phone can wait. This," and she just, I know, and so anyway, I wasn't sure if I was offending her. I just felt called to say, "Don't miss this. Stop texting." And we had coffee a couple days ago, and she thanked me, and she,
Oh,
just in
good.
tears almost, just recognize that moment. Yeah, I can see that. I think I've missed some moments because my head was down. I maybe, head was full, whatever. So that was a great
Thank you
answer.
for
Oh,
sharing that.
long. So you are involved in Leader Impact, so you know that we want people to grow personally, professionally, and spiritually for increasing impact. Would you be willing to share an example of how the spiritual makes a practical difference in your life as a leader?
Yes. I Honestly, it would appear that the spiritual is where it's like the control room, you know, and and I kind of feel that I mean, like I'll talk specifically about what it's been for me. You know, the question, however, brings to mind a realization that everybody, whether they be Christians or totally agnostics, they know that there is something higher. There's a higher power, right? And in different ways, people are chasing after contact with this higher power, right? And because they kind of know that this higher power has the capacity to confer benefits, right? And this higher power has the capacity to create experiences that are beyond what we individually can assemble or cause to happen, you know. And for me, having a spiritual awareness, you know, has helped me to be deliberate and about contacting and contracting with this personality that people refer to or regard as the universe, the higher power, and so it has brought me into an awareness and a knowledge that this is not some energy floating out there that you can accidentally have a brush with. Is actually a personality that you can pursue and have intimate moments with, you know. And that pursuit is fundamental in my life, and the way I pursue it is, I find points in my day to pray, to just reflect, even so. I'm going to mention the Bible. Even reflect on the book of Proverbs in the Bible. It's it's loaded with practical wisdom. Ecclesiasticus. It's all the book of Psalms. I was listening the other day to Oprah Winfrey. She was in an interview at the Harvard Business School with another guy. They were talking about a book that they just released. I am sorry that I do not remember the name of the book, but and she referred to her experience in Hawaii, with the fires and all of that in
Mhm.
that recently happened. And she was talking about how that she felt some backlash. And she mentioned almost casually how she dealt with that, how she went, opened the book of Psalm, chapter 91, and that she read it and meditated on it. And she found peace. And I was just so, I mean, like, I felt a connection. I'm like, that's what I do, you know? When when the world gets too hard, when things that are I cannot comprehend, or when the world threatens to break me, you know, I just find a moment. And you know what? I don't wait for it to be that bad. Even when everything is good, my kids are doing great in their sports and chasing down their academics and things are great. I find that moment to just go be grateful, you know. And when things are really terrible, I just find that moment to go pray for someone because maybe my situation is just too befuddling to my mind. I'm like, okay, I can't deal with this. Let me just find someone to pray for. So I just pray for someone and I release my own issues to this force who I know is God. Right. So well, that's a very long answer to a simple question.
Oh, great! You have great answers. So I have to ask a personal question because you talked about when you are struggling and then you're like, I'm going to pray for someone else.
Okay.
Zazie, have you ever been struggling and actually called your friend, your mom, your someone and said, "Can you pray for me?"
That's a good
because
question.
I was struggling one day, and I know Bobby's listening to this now, and I was just in my like I can feel it. I should call Bobby and ask him to pray for me because I'm going to lose my mind right now, and I didn't. And then I told him after, and he's like, Lisa, that's our role. And then I probably like, I think I left the room because I didn't want to see him. I didn't want him to see me cry. He's listening
Oh,
now. So I ask you because sometimes I don't think we
yes.
ask. We
Yeah.
we'll pray for everyone else, but when
Mhm.
it's you or I that are struggling, do you ask?
Yes. It's so that's a very good question, right? And you've just made a great point, right? Uh, so it's not, I would not instinctively ask, but I should ask more because God's word does say where two or three agree concerning a matter that they pray about, that He will answer them. So you kind of increase the power when you agree with someone who prays for you or prays with you. I don't do that as well as I should, but yes, there have been times when it really feels like, wow, this is just too much. I reach out, I call my mother, I call my husband, and I'm like, wow, I think I am breaking up here. I need you to agree with me, pray for me. I have done that, not as much as I should,
Yeah,
and that reminds me about another story, if I have the moment to share that.
please do.
Not my direct story, but it just has been so compelling to me. It's a lady who was sharing it during COVID, how that her husband was so ill. He was on life support in hospital. And so she began to call up everybody she knew to pray with her for him to recover and come home, which was a big, big, big ask, in the face of all that was breaking down and going bad in her world. So she said at some point, the doctors called her and they said, listen, we just need you to give us your consent. We need to unplug this guy. She said she was perplexed. She's like, why would you unplug him? People are praying. As though that was some kind of logical premise for which the doctor should know. But what it did for me when she said it is that the way she could relate so strongly to the impact of people praying with her, kind of like you ordered pizza from Domino's and the delivery guy is on his way, and the kids are saying, let's get out of the house, and you're like, why would we leave the house? The pizza is on its way. See, that's how she made it sound. People are praying, help is coming, and the guy made a full recovery and he went home to her. So yeah, definitely prayer is, I should ask for prayers more.
It's a good reminder. Thank
Yeah.
you. So Leader Impact is dedicated to making lasting impact. So as you continue to move through your own journey in life, have you considered what you want your faith legacy to be when you leave this world?
That's a great question.
Big question.
Yeah. Honestly, I would like to be remembered as someone who always gave a hand. You know, I love to see people win. You know, when people win, when they talk about their wins, it's like I want to jump out of my body. I want to jump out of my skin, with the thrill of their experience. So yeah, I would like to be remembered as somebody who hustled for the wins of others. Yeah, I
That's
like that.
awesome. Hustle for
Yeah.
the wins of others. I love that. And my last question for you is what brings you the greatest joy?
Huh. I like to run marathons,
Oh,
right? And no, marathons, half marathons. And I think I've experienced some of my um, biggest thrills, at the point of being engaged in a run and finishing it.
hmm
I always use it as a metaphor for other areas in my life. I'm like, wow, if I could finish that 21.1K K run, I totally am going to just dig down and learn to enjoy this experience. So I find that, yeah, the greatest joy is in setting a goal and accomplishing it, right? It's a big thrill.
Yeah. Because a half marathon or a marathon, it can break you. it's tough. I've done it.
You have, okay. You
I've
can
done a
relate.
marathon, and it's like, can I sit down now? Like it was tough. But the end, I mean, you set the goal, you finish the goal. It's a good. It does bring you great joy.
Oh yeah, great joy for
Yeah.
sure.
So, Ozazele, I want to thank you for joining us for this last half hour. You are an absolute joy. It is. I have been waiting to meet you, and I just want to thank you for joining us today and sharing a little part of your story with all of us. You are just an absolute joy. Just thank you.
Well, Lisa, thank you so much for having me. You are such a great interviewer. You pull out the stories. You just pulled them out.
Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Yeah.
So if listeners want to engage with you for any, they want to find about oil and gas or hedge funds, I don't know, how can people engage with you? Where can they find you?
Please connect with me on LinkedIn. I'll be delighted. Yeah.
All right. That is it's a great place to be. So again, thank you. And to all our listeners, I hope you enjoyed the last half hour. All right. So this is the ending. If you're part of Leader Impact, you can always discuss or share this podcast with your group. And if you are not yet part of Leader Impact and would like to find out more and grow your leadership, find our podcast page on our website at leaderimpact.ca and check out our free leadership assessment. You will also find on our webpage Chapter 1 of Braden Douglas's book, Becoming a Leader of Impact. You can also check out groups available in Canada at leaderimpact.ca, or if you're listening from anywhere else in the world, check out leaderimpact.com or get in touch with us by email, info@leaderimpact.ca, and we will connect you. And if you like this podcast, please leave us a comment, give us a rating or a review. This will help other global leaders find our podcast. Thank you for engaging with us. And remember, impact starts with you.